Nestlé provides you with tastier and healthier everyday choices to enhance your quality of life. Nestlé, good food, good life.
A craving might seem like a simple notion drummed up in your head and body for a specific food. However, cravings do have a particular psychological origin, as Kenneth Wilson explains.
Food cravings are really an integral part, I guess, of what you're referring to as food addiction. An addiction is where you've got a strong attachment to a particular substance or set of behaviors which causes you problems and which you're unable to moderate or control. A craving is really just a desire or a wish. You could have a moderate craving or you could have a severe craving. So the craving in and of itself is actually a healthy thing. How craving links up to food addiction though is that sort of addictive energy or that compulsion. So I have to do it, I know I really shouldn't because it's going to mean that my diabetes is not controlled, but I do it anyway.
Claire Yorsing-Stradum is one of the country's most sought-after expert dietitians and all too familiar with helping patients break the physical cycle of cravings for unhealthy treats.
There are various contributing factors that would lead to a food craving. For example, if there were any disturbances in serotonin levels, that would be an issue for cravings. If your blood glucose levels are not maintained throughout the day, that can be an issue for cravings. If you lack a certain nutrient, that could be a trigger for food cravings. So there are various different reasons that would cause a food craving.
Karen Thompson overcame an addiction to narcotics only to find herself battling a food addiction. Her experience led her to founding the first program in South Africa, which aims to treat sugar addiction.
I came into recovery from drug and alcohol addiction 10 years ago, but continued to really struggle with my food addiction, specifically feeding my feelings. Where I used to feed them with cocaine and alcohol, I started feeding them with sugar. Anything sweet that would take away my sadness, my embarrassment, my guilt, my shame. So anything that would really take away my feelings, I would use sugar to take them away. So until I decided to start complete abstinence from sugar, I still struggled very much with my addiction.
I think people would generally acknowledge that food is not just about nutrition. So we know, particularly for young children, sugar is something that's kind of very important. So I think kind of hardwired into us is the sense that food isn't only about nutrition, it's also about changing emotional or feeling states. I think with the obesity epidemic that we're currently experiencing, that's what makes it so difficult. It's not just about calories in and calories out, it's about the meaning that people attach to particular types of food.
The connection between cravings and emotional states it's quite a complex thing, and there's a lot of brain chemistry involved with that as well. But just to simplify it, when we have high amounts of sugar in the diet or high amounts of refined carbohydrates that stimulate that opiate and dopamine secretion in the brain, we hardwire pathways. Young children even will use sweets or chocolates or white bread or those kind of things because you feel better after eating them. So there definitely is a huge amount of brain chemistry involved with that, and we need to try and get off those kind of foods, especially in large quantities, because they make that whole cycle worse.
Foods such as chips, sweets, takeaways, highly processed and refined foods like biscuits or ice cream can be very addictive and problematic for health.
What we now understand in terms of processed foods that contain sugar, fat and salt is that many of those foods have actually been scientifically formulated to increase what they call craveability in the food industry. So those are really, I guess, foods of high addictive potential. I work extensively with people who are actually not going to lose weight unless they change their relationship with sugar, fats and salt.
Oh my gosh, the cycle of sugar addiction for me was intense. Not only on a psychological and emotional level, but on a physical level as well. I would have huge energy slumps where I would literally feel like I would need to go take a nap unless I got that sugar fix. But I would have to consume quite a lot of sugar in order to get there. So my energy levels were up and down constantly. My blood sugar, I would get shaky. It was a real drug for me. It really was. It was similar to a heroin addict needing a hit of heroin.
If we look at sugar, for example, some people say, I really have the worst sugar cravings. And often the reason for this is if we have high doses of sugar, or even refined carbohydrates such as white flour products that actually stimulates the release of dopamine and opiates in the brain. And what we know is that then hardwires pathways where we actually crave these foods, and we have this addiction cycle almost because of these hardwired neurological pathways that have been put in place by excessive amounts of sugar over a long period of time. So people will often say, how do I break the sugar habit? And actually the best way is to go cold turkey on sugar for a while because of that cycle that's in place.
So we know that our beloved treats aren't good for us, and we do give in to temptation if emotions get in the way. But when should we start worrying about cravings?
If you're concerned at all about food cravings, or you know that you really don't eat well, that the whole day goes past and you get home and you only have supper at the end of the night, and the whole day you're actually craving and open that fridge when you get home, and you know, if it starts to impact on your life and your health and your nutritional status, you definitely need to get consultation on that from a dietitian.
Managing cravings is part of a bigger process, which is if you have a food addiction problem which is causing you misery, or if you sort of morbidly obese, that there is help that you can get. And I suppose that's a big part of the kind of work that myself and the psychologists are involved in.
On an emotional psychological level, it is a little bit different. So it's about trying to identify the emotion and what that emotional need is. Instead of going to the shop and buying my sugar fix, I need to find a behavior. So I need to either ask somebody for a hug, I need to write in my journal, I need to find a support group, I need to phone a friend, or I need to do something really loving and kind for myself that doesn't involve food or sugar.
Whether your craving stems from missing your family or you're missing nutrients, stop and study your craving and make sure it's for healthy food and healthy reasons.
Nestlé provides you with tastier and healthier everyday choices to enhance your quality of life. Nestlé, good food, good life.